And I want people to understand it as a condition and not necessarily as a disease.
We gotta get basic.
Yeah.
It's a condition.
It's a condition.
Not necessarily a disease.
Yes.
Hold on. A disease is not necessarily a condition as well.
Yes. The reason why I'm saying it's regarded as a condition, it's because anyone at any point of their lives, they can get epilepsy. And now that gets us into answering the question, what then is epilepsy? It is a condition that is brain damage. So if somebody gets an injury or a damage of the brain, they are at a risk of getting the condition, which is epilepsy.
Yes.
And there are so many things that can cause brain injury or brain damage. For epilepsy in particular, we talk of injuries that can be caused either by accidents. Somebody gets an accident and they have an injury of the head that goes deeper to touching the brain. They can be at risk of getting epilepsy. We have birth complications, especially for children. And this is where we most of the time say that when a mother is expectant and they are just about to, not just about, when they are expectant, they really need to for the baby to be checked in the clinics, the antenatal and postnatal care.
Yes.
Because so many things happen when they are about to give birth or when they are even giving birth, the complications of delay or a child being born and then there is a delay of them crying and all that stuff, that can also affect the brain. We have diseases or infections that can also cause a damage of the brain. We talk of cerebral malaria. As I sit here today, apart from being an activist in raising awareness for epilepsy, I'm also a caregiver.
Yes.
Of a sister who has epilepsy. And she got epilepsy after suffering cerebral malaria. Cerebral malaria is treatable, but if it has in the brain, then it leaves somebody also at a risk of getting epilepsy. We have meningitis. That is also another disease that can damage the brain, and it can also give somebody or leave somebody at a risk of getting epilepsy. So anything that ends up affecting the brain can put somebody at a risk of getting epilepsy. But we also want to be clear enough and say there are so many other conditions also that come with somebody getting an injury or a damage of the brain. When you talk of all these mental health cases, they are also in reference to a damage or an effect of the brain, either having had an injury. So we don't want to put people into a panic mode even as we start this conversation. The fact that maybe somebody had an accident and they had a head injury, we are almost telling them that you might be having epilepsy. No. And that's why we have doctors, we even have machines, people can go, it can be determined which part of the brain has been affected, and what type of epilepsy they have.
Fantastic. Now let me then introduce you officially just before I cross over to Evelyn so that we get the story. Now you're the National Secretary for the National Epilepsy Coordination Council or Committee.
Yes.
Good. Let me get this perspective. And every time I have conversations on health, I keep on referring to the advancements we've made in other areas. Case in point, polio. Case in point, malaria treatment in this country. Case in point, we are now making proper steps towards this country. You give a very simple definition, Fredrick. They say, well, not everybody who has a brain damage is going to get epilepsy. Do you feel that we as a country are also recognizing the importance of, number one, passing information to even the parents, to even families now, the same way we pass this information about HIV, about other diseases, to these families now, so they can actually get to understand epilepsy and how we can then, number one, live with it, and number two, avoid it as well in entirety.
Yeah, I would say this. The biggest burden in epilepsy care and management actually has been awareness. There has been a very big gap in terms of understanding what epilepsy really is. I mean, the first time personally I was knowing something about epilepsy, I'm taken back to the Bible, actually the film about Jesus. And when he was doing the miracles, at some point a boy was brought to him, and this boy was said to have epilepsy. But the Bible, I think that's in Matthew chapter 14, it says when Jesus stood by the boy and his shadow was cast on the boy, the demons of epilepsy left the boy. So there are a lot of myths and misconceptions around epilepsy. And that has not given us an opportunity now to say what epilepsy is and what epilepsy is not. So many people know about this condition, epilepsy, but they know it from a perspective of what they have had in their communities, and that has been taken as the gospel truth. Even if you tell somebody this is a medical condition like any other, no matter how learned they are, and I say this with, a lot of confidence because I have even engaged professors and even some of them who are doctors, yet they tell you when it comes to epilepsy, you need to seek other means and forms of management and care and not necessarily medical, because and it's purely lack of information.
Isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Very much. I'll be coming back to you then with something to delve into even how to care and all that. Evelyn,